Joining me now is Drew Hodgdon, former teammate of mine, played in the NFL, played at Arizona State, and all around really, really smart guy. Drew, were you blown away and impressed and just generally astounded by the level of Texans play last Sunday versus the Browns?
No.
You weren't?
No, I was
This
not.
is a positive show, Drew.
Yeah, this is a hot take of mine.
This is a 5-2 game till well into the second quarter.
Yeah,
I'll remind you.
Stellar game. Yeah, it was not only not impressed. These are all my hottest takes, scorching. They are an underwhelming offense. That's my expertise that I'm offering.
You know what I find myself doing a lot, where I feel like the most like a grumpy old man, is any kind of RPO action. I'm like, I sit there and I feel bad for offensive linemen, because I'm like, dude, how do you do anything? Because you're not allowed to go more than 2 yards past the line of scrimmage. It's not like college where they get away with anything and everything going downfield. So offensive linemen have to stay within 2 yards of the line of scrimmage. So you can't really fire off the ball and do anything, and you don't even know if it's a run to begin with, right?
Right. Yeah, that's exactly right. It's a little trickier, especially at the NFL level, because there is no you can't go halfway against those guys. That's just not going to usually bode well.
It got to the point down on the goal line where I'm watching them run RPOs on the goal line, and like for a team that is struggling to be physical anyway, and then is doing that before they try to set up some kind of a non-play action play. We're going to have to watch this. This non-play action play action where the fullback ends up losing probably his spleen and both kidneys. All right, here's a pass attempt to Troy Hairston, the fullback.
Which you always want.
Yeah. So he just gets destroyed. He's still injured right now. This is what I'm wondering about this. From my perspective as a defensive player, these guys are loaded up. They've got 22 personnel out here with an extra offensive lineman. So you're thinking, oh, okay, run. Of course, but these guys aren't one bit terrified of the run. But then
clearly, they're on the goal. They're on the 1 yard line, and they're lined up, 4+ yards back.
Yeah, and watch the offensive line. Like, they're hi-hat. Like, there's no deception there.
No.
So
they're treating it like sprint protection.
Which is one thing, you do that, and then you're targeting the fullback in an instance where who
doesn't get his depth anyway. He's not even across the goal line, right?
Yeah,
so ostensibly you should be thinking that he's like a half yard to a full yard, probably, already in the end zone. It looks like a pretty strange play design because they're not really selling it. I mean, the tackle's not even down.
Right.
I mean, look at him. He's not even down in the stance.
Yeah, I don't.
I mean, that's like.
And Cleveland's not buying it.
And
this is just, I feel like we have some of this Pep Hamilton trickery where sometimes you're just trying to get too clever for your own good and ignoring the fact that these are human beings that are like just going off their keys. So, all right, good. I'm glad I'm not crazy there.
That's rough. I mean, it's really rough on top of the fact that, that protection was just not very stout. I mean, you're thinking that the benefit of play action, especially on the goal line, is you can be super aggressive and not worry about getting a rush. And they gave up a pass rush on the 1 yard line.
Yeah. So
not great.
That's where I know you said that the offensive line, what'd you say? They struggle to be physical, but they can be physical, but they don't work up to the second level well.
Yeah, I mean they've shown times where they can be physical enough. They're not looking like they're going to be road graders compared to some of these other teams that you're watching this year.
Yeah,
as the game seems to, interestingly enough, kind of shift back to sort of a more run focused, power
blood and guts,
kinda,
baby.
It is. I mean, it's more that way. You're seeing that more than you used to, for sure, over the last 5 years. But they're not going to be one of the more proficient teams at it. But they're doing it well enough. They just are horrendous at holding blocks at the second level.
Yeah.
I mean, even when they do take care of business at the first level, Pierce looks okay because he's getting right past him, but then he's having to do everything on his own once he gets to the linebacker level. He's basically getting hit almost immediately every time, and he's doing everything on his own.
This is something you had also mentioned, and it's Laramie Tunsil, the left tackle, rolling out of his stance. Yeah, there he goes.
He does it a lot. I mean, he does it a lot, and that's why I think we were texting. I'm shocked actually that they don't get him way more often for
Well,
it because
and that's
it's
so he's
pretty
so
easy to
he's
find.
trying to time the snap perfectly.
Yeah.
But I feel like he also versus the better pass rushers maybe sometimes gives them a little bit of an extra twitch because you can't do that on a hard count.
Right.
Like there's no starting to roll on one and then not being able to pull it off.
No, agreed.
Okay.
Yeah, that play was rough.
Oh yeah, the pick six. Yeah, I left this in
That
there
play
too for you.
is. Oof.
Well, that was, funny enough, I think the play with Laramie Tunsil was like the play before the pick six or the play after the pick six. They were right around it. I didn't have to dig. I was running a little late this morning. I was like, oh, crap. I was going to grab some plays that Drew had sent me. And it turns out all I had to, like, for the examples of the types of plays, all I had to do was just throw my thumb onto the keyboard somewhere, and it showed up. So the pick six, the left guard. Oh, dear. So this is Justin McCray. Kenyon Green has been trading some series with him. And I think Kenyon Green has gotten better. I hadn't realized just how bad this was.
Yeah.
Give me an excuse for Justin McCray here. Give me the reason that
The best excuse is that he didn't start the game, and I'm guessing he hasn't played a lot this year. That's the best possible excuse. Everything else, you're looking at also, I'm not totally sure what the right guard might be thinking is that there's a twist here. He doesn't know why the center's coming with him. He's thinking the center should be blocking inside. Yeah. So the best excuse is that the right guard might be telling you that he's thinking the center should also be.
Oh, well,
he thought it was a screen.
They were setting up a screen.
They were setting up a screen, right?
Tell me the psychology of setting up a screen where sometimes we've talked about this a lot with the Texans this year in that it feels like Caserio wanted to reset the roster, not necessarily for an outright tank, but clear space and maybe be competitive. But that sometimes when you shoot for a lower bar, the danger of undershooting is very real. Yeah. So in a screen where you're going to try to look like you're blocking, but then let the guy go and get out, is there a danger sometimes that you go a little too far with the not blocking?
Yes. Yeah. You don't have to try very hard to let an NFL pass rusher make you look bad. It's not that hard. You really have to just try not to win. Really, is kind of the deal. I mean, don't.
If you just try not to win the whole down, right?
Yeah,
you should be trying to block him, but whatever. Something different than whatever that is.
I will say the screen probably was going to be toast, sort of regardless, because they happened to just twist right into it.
Yeah,
they were doing that twist on the call side, but it's just like it looks so rough.
Okay, so when you say that, they're doing that twist on the inside, so the defensive tackle that's looping around is going to be right there.
Twist just kill screens because you have usually a guy who's probably no offense to you, but not the fastest rushers anyway, and they happen to time it up in a way when they come around in the loop and they're sitting right in it.
Except if you watch here, this nose tackle. Completely and totally unaware, just keeps jetting right on it.
Does not actually read it at all.
This makes me feel even worse, though, because I'm watching guys blatantly. Like, whenever you see offensive linemen act like it's like they're running for a fire exit away from the quarterback. You're like,
I wonder what's going on.
The nose tackle is completely unaware. And, he figured it out. Okay.
But it's like he had so much time to figure out.
Well, the other thing that's bothered me about the Texans is, in general, and this was true under Bill O'Brien too, is just an inability to sell the screen at all. I get so jealous when I watch Kansas City or one of these teams play, and the running backs are just they catch the ball and they've got green grass in front of them. Here, it always just feels like so much work, and when it's poorly executed, you can just tell that it's a screen. Like, you're a defense. For me, it was easy because, if I was winning a pass rush really easily, I figured it was probably a screen. So I was like, okay. Which screwed me out of a couple of sacks in my life because there were times where I had a really nice pass rush.
Where you thought, that would have been.
I would just break down and, chase the screen. And I'd be like, oh, crap, it's an actual pass. I could have been there.
Well, in another world where there's not, a whole laundry list of issues with that offense, maybe it'd be easier to identify exactly what it is. But in general, it just always looks like they're trying to run it out of the wrong personnel group, the wrong formation. They always have tons of bodies in there. And the teams that are doing it well, you're looking at like Kansas City, you mentioned, they're not doing it out of 22.
Yeah.
They don't have 3 tight ends and 2 backs in every single time they're doing it. They spread out. They got guys open in space,
Well,
and they're not jamming everyone up in there, which Pep Hamilton he kind of does that a lot.
Yeah, he just loves to just put a massive humanity in there and then hope for the best. So I believe this one is going to be. Oh, I just wanted to show Jerry Hughes.
Yeah.
I'm watching it. I'm pretty sure that's Jerry Hughes. Jerry Hughes comes around here, misses a sack.
Right.
And the other scary thing about this was this felt so much like Deshaun's incredible play in the playoffs against the Bills a couple years ago where he got ping-ponged around and then came out for a strike.
Yeah.
Luckily, that's not what it was. But I just wanted to highlight Jerry Hughes to point out that he's on pace to have a career high in sacks and a career high in hurries, or he's on pace to meet his career high in both those things at the age of 34. And he's doing it on a team where, like, there's no
help.
There's no help, and the opponent feels no urgency to pass.
Right.
So usually the teams, like, when you get a lot of sacks, if you're in a bunch of 3rd and 10s and a team is your opponent's down by 7 or 14, you're going to get a lot of chances. But this Texans team has one of the worst run defenses in the league, and it's not like they're taking deep drops on their passes, and Jerry Hughes has a whole bunch of opportunities to come in like a bat out of hell on 3rd and 10.
Right.
I had this question of, when did you first start seeing that you see more and more is just it's like a basketball Euro step, where they're just taking huge steps up and then back in, which is a little bit more, it's just an up and in, but they do it almost elegantly, where I feel like they watched James Harden 10 years ago and figured out how to make it look more like a Euro step.
You can see that move clear as day during like the TV broadcast.
Yeah.
Where they're it's a huge lurch. It's almost like you said, like they have the ball and you're watching an NBA game. It's like what you're watching, a guy who's trying to advance, and what guys have had to do, and the pendulum just swings this way all the time, is left tackles, like when you watch Tunsil and he's jumping all the way out there.
Yeah.
They're horrified of getting smoked around the edge.
Uh-huh.
Right? So they're jumping all the way out there. And so the counter moves now are coming back with a power inside move.
I feel like YouTube has made a big difference in these young pass rushers. I
agree.
It used to be back in the day that a lot of guys, almost the golden rule was, look, you got to have 2 good pass rush moves. You got to have something. If you're a speed guy, you got to have a counter that's a power move, or something to the inside. If you're a bull rusher, then you got to have a bull and swim or something. Now I feel like there's more guys who have effective repertoires, and they've been watching YouTube since they were juniors. In high school.
You know what you see too is that they've gotten just so much better about it. That's why I love. I mean, I'm not unique in this, but I mean, I loved watching the Rams working through it, and you're seeing a guy who obviously is going to go down as maybe one of the best interior pass rushers of all time.
Yeah.
And it's like what you're seeing is it's subtle movement, and it's not this extreme, over the top, overly exaggerated pass rush move where they're where they're swimming, or where they used to do those overly exaggerated rip moves.
Yeah,
they don't do that. You don't see that anymore.
No, it's like
it's subtle.
Arts.
It's subtle moves, right?
Like
yeah,
fighting
exactly.
in a phone booth. Yeah,
it's really subtle, but when you see it in slow motion, you can see how effective it is.
Yeah,
I mean, really effective.
It's really, I think with defensive linemen, there's so many more kids. Like, because I can remember a lot of the stuff I learned from an article that I had read by Howie Long or something about defensive line techniques.
how to pass rush and have a clean flat top.
Yeah. Where now, like, I think kids they don't just know those moves, like they drill the hell out of them, so they're a lot cleaner and crisper with them. They're crisper. Yeah. They're much crisper. So, yeah. I don't even know if there's any analysis that needs to be done.
I don't either.
I mean, my God. Then he scraped that linebacker scraped way over the top.
Oh yeah, and it looked like maybe they were already angling inside away, and they just washed him down.
Yeah. This defensive line, this front seven. Yeah. They're slanting, which means that white gloves there should not be scraping that hard, and then they end up wide open. And then
but even then, it's one of those things where you're watching this defense, and even if you know almost nothing about defensive schemes or responsibilities, you can just tell just by their body language, the way that the fits are, the energy. It does not look like what an effective defense looks like just from
Yeah.
watching football.
That's
just you don't even have to know what you're looking at, and you can tell.
This play, without breaking down any of the blown responsibilities or anything, just has guys getting washed, has guys not coming up and taking on blocks, and then first contact. We won't count that one little glancing blow right there. I mean,
It's rough.
You can't.
I mean, look at that.
It was 10 yards.
Yeah.
It was 10 yards after contact with a 2-1 advantage over the guys that are doing it.
Yeah.
I thought Deshaun, by the way, did a better job in this game with like his zone read mechanics and everything.
He did.
They coached him up a lot better on it. He rode.
I agree.
He rode the running back down before he made the decision.
And he looked pretty good when he was under center too.
Yeah.
With his boot action.
This is Butte.
It's rough. It's rough, man.
This is depressing to watch. All right.
Yeah.
On what is it? Good Morning Football. They do this thing called Angry Runs, and Kyle Brandt puts up finalists for guys who have like the angriest run of the week out of running backs. So obviously, this is a finalist, and Kyle Brandt started saying, I think I see every single Texans defender. I think I see Brian Cushing. I think I see Seth Payne. I think I see, and then a few other guys. I was flattered that Kyle Brandt brought
it's a nice name drop.
a notable former Texan that definitely would have at least kicked somebody in a kneecap before he allowed that to happen. My God.
Yeah.
Like, that's the worst feeling in the world. As an individual, if you get taken for a ride like that, it's rough. Like, that's a rough, like, you think about that all night and you can't sleep.
Yeah,
As a
for sure.
unit, I just don't know.
It's soul crushing. I mean, but look at their body language too. It's just rough. I mean,
And that was early enough in the game. I mean, that was very early in the game. This is right here what we like to call a punt return for a touchdown. And like the guys don't hold leverage on the left side, obviously. Like at least two guys are out of position there. And then it's off to the races.
We've all been on teams where you're watching just a really skilled punt returner look like a prolific athlete who's just better, and they're shaking guys, and then they have that burst, and it happens. It totally happens.
Yeah.
But that's not what that was.
That
was not what that was. That was five guys right there throwing themselves on the ground and just trying to get to the locker room. They just didn't want to be out there. That was
honestly, that's where I get nervous that was the point where the season may have unraveled completely. Like, obviously, you've got one win so far. The season is unraveled already. But where it might turn ugly is because the Texans' special teams has actually been pretty good. So if that's the kind of special teams they're going to put in, and then Des King fumbles later, and like that's an individual fumbling, but that's kind of a classic sign of guys trying too hard. You get to that point where you feel like, I got to be the hero, and that's when things get ugly. When guys start wanting to be the hero. You sent me this, and I can't agree with it more. This was – I can't remember which play it was, but
what made me think of this especially was literally the Texans game when they ran a quarterback sneak on the 1 yard line and then fumbled it. But
it's supposed to be the safest play in the world. I can remember when J.J. Watt tweeted this. I can't remember which specific game it was. Somebody was trying to run out of the end zone, and they ran a play instead of running a QB sneak. But J.J. says QB sneak is the single most difficult play to stop for 1 yard or less, without a doubt, especially when you add pushers from behind into the equation. We'll never understand taking the ball 5+ yards away from the line of scrimmage to try and gain 1 yard at any level. And, yes, of course, the Texans did the safe thing. Kudos to Pep Hamilton on doing what should have been a safe play. And that's another, that was another moment where I felt like, all right, this is another evidence that the season is unraveling.
That it's over. Yeah.
Fumbling on a QB sneak that was other, but also like trying too hard, right? Like, like in that instance, just protect the ball and get your couple of yards. You're just trying to create enough space for a punt, and that's it. You don't have to be a hero. Just cover it up.
Yeah, when your like natural priorities just get completely misaligned.
Yeah.
Like when you've done it 1,000 times, and for whatever reason, just doing that feels difficult. But yeah, I saw that, and it's all I've been thinking all year watching games, both at the college level and in the NFL. You're just seeing these short yardage scenarios, and you're wondering why not everyone is just running a sneak, even if your line has struggled. You have put 3 guys. I've only seen a couple teams that have been nailing it. I think the Eagles have been doing it where they have 3 guys in the backfield, and they're all just pushing them, and you can't stop that. I mean, it's got to be so hard to stop that. But no one's doing it.
What are the other works every time plays? Even though they're not necessarily, but I feel like a flea flicker works 100% of the time.
Well, it works as far as they're able to get the pass off, or it actually becomes a massive completion.
It feels like, yeah, I wonder what the actual success rate is. It's just that when it works so well. It's just so awesome.
It's just such a thing of beauty. It's such an energizer for the entire team too.
But when it doesn't work, it's so scary because you gotta, is he gonna force it? It's all or nothing.
Well, there never has been one that didn't really work well where they thought that was still a great play call.
Yeah.
It's always the dumbest play call if it doesn't end up being a great play.
What is that? I don't think there's anything else that always works without doing any actual research on it or not. The flea flicker, the QB sneak, up tempo. I mean, it doesn't always work, and and I'm going to tell you another one. Two things that don't always work, but that people think always work is one is up tempo offense. It's always the panacea. Nobody ever thinks about the poor defensive guy that has to go out there after a 3-and-out that lasts 44 seconds of actual time, and
right.
But then, which I mean. I think sometimes that's overstated. The whole defense needs a rest part.
Yes, I think that's definitely overstated, and I think they've obviously they've cracked down on the rules for the substitutions for that too. So it's made it that I think that's really kind of brought it back down to probably what's fair if we're being honest.
Yeah, because they used to be able. The offenses used to really just get you on the ropes and pummel you.
Yeah, and the defense really couldn't substitute with effectively at all.
Yeah,
and that I think the big one too that always works in the minds of every coordinator at every level is those bubble screens. Is just throwing out to the sideline.
Yeah,
immediately turning and throwing out to the sideline. Every offensive coordinator, if they could, they would call it every single play.
That's where I know, and I think Bill Walsh. I remember one of the theories or philosophies I liked about Bill Walsh and why I think this is why players love his system so much. The Kubiak-Shanahan system, really, is that. Like old school football schemes put too much pressure on players to just be physically dominant. Like the scheme wasn't actually helping them at all. It was just a matter of if my big strong guys are stronger and bigger than your big strong guys, we go bam.
We'll take that matchup every day.
And likewise, it's hey, if I got a horse wide receiver, I can just throw it out there. I mean, that was the Andre Johnson offense there.
Yes.
In his rookie, his first couple of years.
And Calvin Johnson and all the Johnsons.
Yeah. Quick screen to Andre. All I do, you mean I can just throw it out to Andre and all he has to do is beat 3 guys single-handedly? Well, there we go. It's good for 4 yards every time. Poor Andre is meanwhile just dragging guys.
Well, and it looks like one of those plays that coaches draw up on a whiteboard.
Yeah.
And completely ignore that quarterback actually has to be pretty accurate really fast.
Yeah.
And that is not a short throw.
Yeah.
That's essentially half at minimum the width of the field.
The other thing, it's not something that people always think works. It's what people think never works. There's two things actually.
Yeah.
There's 2 things. And so I always I get annoying with it sometimes. I don't do it anymore. People will insist that a 3-man rush is the dumbest thing that ever happened. And I can't believe you would ever try a 3-man rush while ignoring all the times that it totally works. There was an entire era where that was what you did to Tom Brady because he couldn't figure it out. That
you're right.
Yeah. So,
those were the defenses that shut him down because
the Rex Ryan.
That's right.
Just play coverage. So, I mean, so doing it ridiculously. And the one thing that happens with that, too, is you've got to be a really good defensive coordinator who impresses upon the defensive linemen. Listen, you're going to get double teamed. That doesn't mean stop. Because if you get 3 dudes that face a double team and I guess I'm not going to get a sack this. And Pat Mahomes will sit back there all day.
Yeah. That's exactly right. Yeah.
So the other one, too, is the prevent defense or even just playing a soft zone or anything. And I'll go right back to last night where the Raiders were up 18-3. 16-3? 16-3. Raiders are up 16-3 at the end of the game, and they continue to play aggressive man defense. And boom, 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 all of a sudden Baker Mayfield's the comeback story of the year. So, there's a place for it. Usually when people don't soft zone or prevent defense, it's more because the defensive backs are screwing it up.
It's because they're not good at it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They're bad at executing. Now, I will say there's something to be said for, if you're calling it a prevent defense or whatever it is, just in general.
Yeah.
I'm not a believer in doing a lot of what in key moments,
what guys haven't done.
Something that you don't do.
Yeah.
So like if your only time running prevent defense is in the rare occasion where we got to make sure that we run it during this 2-minute window that we haven't done for the vast majority of the season, just run a kind of defense that you're more comfortable running that's a little more conservative. Don't do anything wild where you're running specific guys, deep cover 2, and then these guys are playing off, but we're playing man all the time normally. Do what you normally do. Just be smart about it. It's not, it's the same thing on offense.
It's like trying a new sex move with a girl you really want to impress.
Yes, don't
try
do
it
that.
out the first time on her.
No.
Try it on your friends with benefits there. That'll laugh at you, but it's cool.
Exactly.
You
want if you're conducting research in the bedroom. You want to make sure to keep it nice and steady, even, and then make sure that you're not you don't have any outliers. I'm a scientist.
I don't miss that part of being single at all. Like the first time having sex with somebody. If you're sober.
If you're sober and insecure and deeply self-conscious. You're not under the influence of anything to cover up all my fears of inadequacy.
It's not even that. I always I like to think I'm a responsive dude, and like every woman's a mystery when it comes to like exactly what they're gonna
what they want.
Yeah,
but the expectation obviously is that you know. You have to know. You're supposed to know. You're always supposed to know. Always.
Is this what you like?
Like this, right? Circles, large circles with the flat part of my palm.
There's a little. What? No.
Oh God. Oh, this is impossible.
I give up.
Yeah.
I'll get you an Uber. Oh yeah.
You didn't just have like a driver that you relied on to.
A driver with a non-disclosure form.
With an NDA, yeah. Driver
Jeeves
with an NDA.
will take you home and take your statement.
I told you to stop calling me Jeeves, sir. Yeah. Irrelevant. Take her home.
Did they have? They didn't. When you lived in Houston, you had to rely on cabs as a young single guy.
Yeah, they didn't. Uber. Uber didn't really become a thing. I think people forget. Like it's still not that old, honestly. Like it hasn't been around that long. There was. Yeah, that was rough. You had to do, and that's where when you get into and I bet teams still do this, even maybe with Uber. Well, maybe not, but you think like you remember when they had
the car service.
Yeah, car service, specific car service.
Quite trusted.
No one used it because, and I get why though. I wouldn't.
It's like when your parents tell you that, like, hey, just if you ever need a ride, call me, and I promise you won't get into trouble. I'm like, yeah, but you're gonna figure it out somehow. You know, I was like, I'll probably call my friend Jeff's dad. He's pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. Jeff's dad just got out. He got that tattoo removed, and he's reliable.
Jeff's dad was awesome. Jeff's dad was this guy. He passed away a couple years ago, and Jeff just told me this story. So Jeff's dad was like the friendliest guy in the world. Was still picking up hitchhikers long after people stopped picking up hitchhikers. He could not help but help people. He was like always like raking the infield at Little League games and like always volunteering for everything. He's just like a super awesome guy. So. He had Alzheimer's pretty bad, like his last few years, or dementia his last couple of years. And Jeff said one of the last times he visited him, his dad, who was still super friendly and everything, but became kind of paranoid about stuff. He had a nice visit with him, and Jeff was getting up to leave, and his dad, Tony said, hey, come here. Let me ask you a question. Do you have a weapon? I could really use a weapon. And Jeff was like, sorry, Dad, I can't leave a weapon with you here in the nursing home. So,
I need more context, at least, at minimum.
So that was Jeff's dad. Yeah, he would have come pick me up.
But there was no explanation for why he needed the weapon, at least?
He was just paranoid, like the people were stealing from him all the time and everything. Because you kind of, you wake up and you don't know where you are and don't all that good stuff. Yeah,
it is interesting how, because we've talked about this I think in the past too, where my father had dementia and he ended up passing, but it's one of those things where there's probably like a specific brand of like dark comedies like this where some of the funniest moments and exchanges are because of that. Oh yeah, and I couldn't. I could not deny, even in the moment, that they were funny as they were
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah.
And of course, years later, you stop and think about it, and they're devastating. But that's not neither here nor there.
Yeah.
But in the moment, it's
Oh,
objectively hilarious
that
what
was what
happens.
it was kind of cool. Like my dad got sick, and it was one of those things where it seemed like at first it seemed like he was going to die within like 2 weeks, and like everybody flew in and like and you just try to do what you
Right.
can, and then it turned into we don't actually know like how long this is gonna be. It could be 2 months. It could be like 2 years. But
Yeah.
you get into that flow where you're in that weird state where a lot of the stuff that can be pretty dramatic when presented in movie form.
Yes, exactly.
Becomes,
it's not a movie.
Yeah,
it's not a movie.
It just becomes part of your daily occurrences. Yeah,
exactly.
And you got to manage and move along.
You got to manage it in this real like detached kind of way, and then you're just
Yeah.
like, all right, it's like, it's interesting.
My
Yeah.
sisters were more involved, like in his last couple of weeks where he started, because my dad was just so damn, like had such like ridiculous endurance, which is part of why he died when he did. I think a lifetime of really pushing the boundaries.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, way to go.
Kept him from
Way to go, Dad.
making it to 70. But like where he'd start like.
So, like he burned the candle at both ends, is what you're saying? Like he was going
Yeah.
so hard for so long.
But like so by the end, like he'd have these moments where he's like buck naked in the middle of his place, like telling my
Right.
sister to barricade the doors because the soldiers
Yes.
are coming and everything. And my
Yeah.
sister's like, "Okay, Dad." And like,
Sure.
yeah.
She's doing it kind of like nonplussed. All right.
Yeah.
Soldiers are coming. I got it.
Soldiers
you
are.
know.
I got you, Dad.
We'll
All
do
right.
it. How many times are the soldiers going to be here? It's fine. Yeah, same.
That's
Yeah.
the part, seeing your parents, like you spend your whole life trying not to see your parents buck naked, and then at the end, like where
Here we are.
where they're at their least impressive, like, I guess kind of wish I'd taken it all in before you turned into this.
I don't
Dad.
want to remember you at your least impressive naked. That's not how I want to remember you. Dad,
right.
send me pictures now so I can hold on to this.
I'll talk to you next week about the Texans as they look like 79-year-old naked versus the Cowboys, and hopefully salvage some semblance if they can cover.
Some semblance of dignity.
I'm gonna lay some money down on the Texans. That's the way I'm gonna enjoy this season. Is just hoping that they cover by the end.
I like it. And maybe that's what we do. We just take like completely unreasonable bets and see how it plays out. With the
It's
line.
fun that. Yeah, okay, we should do that. There's the new podcast. All right, buddy.
All right, man.